Well, Nation of Millions comes out
Right.
and it's epic.
Right.
But then, maybe about a year later, you guys drop Fight the Power.
Yeah, it's summer of '89.
Yeah, which
Because
I feel is the greatest protest song of all time.
Song doesn't become a song without Spike Lee.
Right.
Number
'cause
one,
he puts it in Do the Right Thing.
not only does he put it in, Vlad,
It
he
runs
puts
throughout
it in.
the
It
whole
runs throughout the
movie.
whole movie. How could
It's a character in the movie. Essentially, that song is a character in the movie.
I mean, when me and Hank was checking out Fight the Power, and we had to deliver the rough versions to Spike so he can run it through in times on the movie.
Okay, wait.
So we didn't get the finished version to him.
Okay, so you mean to tell me that Fight the Power came out after they filmed Do the Right Thing?
No.
Or at the same time?
The initial Fight the Powers came out, didn't sound nothing like how it ended up.
Oh.
And even the first conversation, Spike wanted to put together some kind of hip-hop jazz version of Lift Every Voice and Sing. And Spike just basically said in a meeting, we said, I need an anthem. And for some reason, understood this. Fight the Power is the second Fight the Power. It's not the first Fight the Power. I'm 15 years old. Fight the Power by the Isleys was a record we all remembered. Mm-hmm. Me, Hank, Flavor, we grew up with that Fight the Power. The Fight the Power we did resonated to a new generation, another generation that probably never paid, and it was rap and hip hop that probably never really paid mind or knew that the other Fight the Power existed. The first Fight the Power by the Isleys struck me as being whoa, because it had a curse in it. It was the first record I ever heard, heard a curse in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I knew the strength of that record because this was the Isley brothers, man.
I mean, and that record, yeah, like I said, it was a character in the movie. It was just as important as Bugging Out and Radio Raheem and Sal.
And Spike's still doing it now because the Five Bloods blew me away, man.
Yeah, great movie. Great movie.
It took more, I'm an OG, so it took me back. It took me back to, I write Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos because I witnessed the Marines coming when my uncle, foster uncle, graduated out of high school, and up comes the walkway in South Ozone Park, Queens. This dude in a military suit knocks on the door, asks for his name. Uncle comes to the door, he hands him a letter. I'm 7 years old, so I'm cognizant, right?
Got a letter from the government the other day.
He's like, move, get away. He opens up the letter, looks at it, just drops it on the table, walks into the kitchen, into the backyard. I pick it up, said, no. You are hereby drafted into the United States Marine Corps, hereby report to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and we're en route to Southeast Asia in a month.
Yeah, forget what
he survived. Yeah, I mean, he brought back Purple Hearts, and I had another uncle that was ruined, injured too.
Oh wow.
So I mean, Public Enemy gives you real stories.
Well, in that song, you said Elvis. Could you the line?
Right. Elvis was a hero the most, but he never meant shit to me. You see, straight up racist, that sucker was simple and plain. Motherfuck him and John Wayne.
Yeah.
And of course, Flavor had to do it, but I write the lyrics and gut myself out. So you do that line.
Motherfuck him and John Wayne. Now, see, let me tell you something about my partner, Chuck D. And I commend Chuck on this. Before Chuck writes something to put it out, he always does some type of research on it first to make sure that he knows what the fuck he's talking about. That's why a lot of our songs that we've made, and this is why I always say that I back Chuck up 189.9 per 9%. Not saying he's perfect, but he's right about a lot of shit. So a lot of these records that he wrote was based off of actual information, true information. You know what I'm saying? So when he wrote Fight the Power and he wrote that song about Elvis and John Wayne, he did research on it first before he wrote it. And he found out that they were racist people. You know what I'm saying? John Wayne was a racist. He didn't really like black people. Neither did John.
Now, wasn't there a documentary that came out somewhat recently that explored Elvis? You were in that documentary?
I think that was Eugene Jarecki's documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently Elvis wasn't a racist or something. Was there
I
some
don't know.
some
I
level
don't
of
know.
retraction or no?
It was no retraction. I was like saying, number one, when I wrote the record, right? We as black people always grew up around Elvis, but why is he the king? Why is he the icon? And I was trying to say in that record, dude, there's not only is there Little Richard still around, Bo Diddley at that time, everybody was around. Even Jerry Lee Lewis. Not only were they just as iconic and they deserved a king too, or Elvis didn't deserve to be called king, but they were doing gigs.
Yeah.
At the same time. So this whole Elvisism, I was done with. John Wayne, I put him in there because I read Jim Brown's book, Out of Bounds. And Jim Brown said he was a piece of shit.
Well, there you have it.
that was enough for me.
Now, was Farrakhan in the Fight the Power video?
No.
Okay. But the Nation of Islam was?
Nation of Islam was always somewhere in the peripheral. We were in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And as Nation of Islam, FOI, always on post.
Yeah.
The greatest guys in the world.
Because you guys, I feel, introduced the NOI to hip hop with your second album. I mean, granted, the NOI had been around for the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I mean, they don't believe the hype and bring the noise. I said, Farrakhan's a prophet I think you all listen to. Yeah. And this was in rebuttal to all these other Americana icons they was tossing at us. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna name somebody that you probably don't dig that I dig.
Yeah, the followers of Farrakhan. Don't tell me that you understand unless you hear the man.
You know, I said the same thing in Buck Wild, you know, ain't nothing changed. Still down with Farrakhan. So it was about the Nation of Islam being a nation inside of a nation that said, look, America is going to do what it's got to do, but you got to look at yourself and unite inside that situation. You see that the Nation of Islam, for whatever organization that you might think it is, always a situation that had to be respectful to A, they're not going to carry no guns. B, they're going to be a situation that knows that they can't change the law, but they operate within the law of wherever they live to figure out how they do their thing. Now, all kinds of other things or offshoots and all that other stuff that happens, man, it's still up to you to say, listen, how do we exist in the wilderness of North America if you're not seeing enough of yourself? What Public Enemy and the Nation of Islam had done is the Nation of Islam had taken us to many countries that the mainstream bookers and promoters never would take us. I mean, I've been to many, many countries that were quote unquote non-Western countries and quote unquote off the grid, off the bar, don't go there, you might lose your life. And we had the greatest of all times there, including number one, the continent of Africa, which was some of our greatest times.
Were you a NOI member yourself?
No, always on the peripheral because we have members who were in and out. And then we knew that, as an artist, a cultural person, that the best service is that you be at the door and acknowledge the Nation of Islam. I'm not going to be in a situation that's not going to be, within the guidelines of, I'm cursing on records, man. You're going around the world. You got to know who you are and what you are not. And organizational wise and figuring out what to do when you're looked upon as lesser than. The Nation of Islam had done a whole lot, and even down to like people tend to forget that the Million Man March never happened. I thought that was a key turning point. There was not an incident that everybody was looking for, and the media was looking for an incident.
Yeah,
and
no fights.
A million black people black men in DC just trying to figure it out, man. And how that had been downplayed and to be like, I think, and you even heard the naysayers, I went to the Million Man March, but it ain't changed nothing. Stop looking on the outs and the exterior to change your world. You got to go within. And that's the same thing even when President Obama became president. Don't look at him to be Jesus. I looked at it as being I got an hourglass and I get to turn it over. And as that sand drips, I buy in some time to be able to move around the world, get some truth to power ideals out, talk to people. It's not about always talking to your allies. It's about being able to say, look, okay, adversary, we're on an even ground. Hear me out too. So whenever you expect that the world ain't gonna meet you halfway, world ain't never gonna meet you halfway, bro. You gotta go 3/4 to the world, but you have to be taught that you are able to do so. And you must be taught that you're greater than even what you think of yourself without it going into narcissism.